If I had the opportunity to talk to somebody and tell them what I think about having a dog, I think it is one of the most rewarding animals that you could have. No matter how sad you are, no matter how angry you are, they are always happy and they want to come to you. They want to please you. You'll never find anybody on this planet that want to please you more than a dog.
My name is Scott Hildula. I'm a general contractor based in Martinez, California, and this is my truck dog, Petal. She's a Jack Russell, Chihuahua, Dachshund, God knows what kind of mix. She's a rescue dog from ARF in Walnut Creek, and she's awesome. She's about 3 years old. My favorite part about being a dog owner is unconditional love. My mom died when I was 27, and I've had a couple of wives. I got a couple of kids. And they love me, but not the way my mom did, and definitely not the way a dog does. It's just, there's something about that bond which is really special.
Dogs are the absolute best. They have brightened up my life, my whole life. Ever since I was a little girl, I've had dogs, and I think it's taught me how to have certain emotions, how to have certain feelings, and how to have experiences that I wouldn't have had without dogs in my life.
My dogs are pretty much my life. I've always had a dog in my life from the day I was born. I've never not had one. I had my longest, which was my personal dog. I had her for 15 years. Her name was Macaroni. She was my first rescue. She is tattooed on my back, along with one of my other dogs, and she was everything to me. And she really was my best friend. She helped me get through my best friend's death, my dad's death. She was the reason I got up and did everything I did every day and work. My dogs were my kids first before my kids. So they really are another part of me.
Hi, my name is Brianna. I am in Los Angeles, California. This is my pit puggle, Batman. I knew that Batman was the dog for me for a couple reasons. One, he came from my family and he got along with everybody in my family, therefore everybody that looks like me. And two, when I took him for my first walk in Atlanta, he was just so sweet. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a feeling of when you first get your most favorite thing, something that you've worked for in your whole life, and you finally get to touch it. And I had no idea that Batman was going to be that dog for me. And when I took him out for a walk, something felt perfectly right about it. Like, even though he was pulling me and tugging me along and making me run, and it was stressful, it was still just settling. I was like, this is my pup.
Hi, I'm Christine Hollander. I am a volunteer puppy raiser for Canine Companions for Independence, and this is Garrett the Fifth. He's the puppy I'm raising to become a service dog someday, working with people with disabilities. Yes, Garrett, good boy. My favorite part, I think, I have a couple of favorite parts about raising puppies. I really enjoy the puppies themselves. I love to watch them grow and develop and change and learn. I love the people that are involved with me. The organization is one of passionate volunteers, and so we all support each other, we all work together, we all learn from each other. It's really fun. And finally, I love the graduates who are matched with the dogs, because then I can see the change in their lives because of these pups. And it's sort of a full circle thing. So it's not one thing that I love about it. It's many things.
Hi, my name is Kim Wagner. I am with the Rescue Aussies Pound Puppies here at CCAS, Contra Costa Animal Services in Martinez. I hear a pig behind me, aka Mama Meatball. Hi, neat girl. You want to say hi? Oh God, I picked up a dog on the side of the road. As a matter of fact, I know when I started. I was driving down a country road, and there were 2 German Shepherds in the middle of the road. I was probably 17 at the time. picked him up and brought him home, and my dad bout threw a fit, and I ended up taking him back to the owners the next day, but that kind of started my passion in helping rescue animals. I adopted my first dog from this shelter for my 10th birthday.
Well, I think my favorite part about being a dog owner is that it's just somebody to love. I actually get emotional when I say that. But I just think dogs are a really important part, and I think they make people happy. Like, I live in an over 55 neighborhood, and so I take her around to visit some of the people, and it just makes them so happy. And, you know, when I think about her, there's like certain words and certain things that I have to say. You know, if you really want to get along with your dog, you have to say the same thing all the time and be really consistent so that they know exactly what's going to be happening. Especially with somebody like her, because she's basically blind. You know, she just really needs to be real comfortable with what's happening. That's when she gets kind of freaked out, when she doesn't know. And, yeah, I guess that's it. And they're great company, of course. And just somebody to love. Yeah.
Well, the home is never quiet. So there's always some action going on. And they just look after us. They watch over everything all the time. There's always someone paying attention to what's going on the property.
Yeah, in fact, our last dog that just passed away, which is the reason we got Annie, she actually watched him when he would stop breathing at night. She would come in and wake him up. You know, she really kept an eye on us, and if we were upset, she knew it, and she would come and she would nurture you and comfort you. And in fact, she was the one who would put us all to bed at night if we fell asleep on the couch, because she would get us all up and go, okay, enough is enough, time to go to bed. So dogs also can be an overseer of you to make sure that you're okay.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm from Walnut Creek, California, and I'm here with my dog, Ranger. Ranger, come. Good boy, can you sit? Good boy, this is Ranger. He's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, and he's almost a year old. So we originally got Ranger because my fiance was getting out of the military, and he was going to be working from home, and we wanted something for him to do while he was at home. And so that training ranger is that thing. And the role he plays in our family is really just silliness, constantly, all the time, laughing at him. He has a huge personality, which we heard about with Chessie's is pretty common. And yeah, he's just like ridiculous all the time. Sometimes it gets annoying, especially when he was little. He has lots of energy, but I would say he's definitely brought a lot of joy into our lives as a couple and taught us a lot about parenting, which has been really helpful because we're about to get married. And so we want to know what type of parents we're going to be and how we vibe with each other in that way. And Ranger's been really helpful with that.
The reason that I was looking for a dog, I didn't know what kind of dog I was looking for or where I was going to get a dog, is because in 2014 I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder after being robbed and having my laptop stolen and a knife pulled on me. And ever since then, I've had a little bit of a hard time connecting with people as a whole. And ever since I've had Batman, it's almost been impossible to have a rainy day. He is the light of my life. He always makes me laugh. If I come into my home and I'm feeling sad, he just looks at me and everything's better. It's almost impossible to be sad when you have a dog like him.
So I have two dogs. I have Truly, who's a Dalmatian, and I have Nacho, who's a Chihuahua. And this is my third generation Dalmatian. I myself am a very active person. I like running and walking and doing a lot of hiking and things outdoors, so a Dalmatian was perfect for me. And a neighbor had some puppies, and I thought they were adorably cute. And I've never really owned a small dog, so about 13 years ago, I adopted my Chihuahua. And he's just full of spunk and energy, and he's really quite a little character. So he's been a lot of fun as well.
Do I prefer a small dog over a big dog? I miss Wally. It was awesome having a 95-pound lab who had a big concrete head and just a mellow disposition. However, he, like a lot of dogs that came out of a puppy mill, he was another stray I picked up. He had hip dysplasia really badly, and I had to lift him in and out of the pickup truck, and that was tough on my back. I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm 230 pounds. I'm pretty strong. But lifting 95 pounds in and out of a truck was really bugging me. Plus, I have a 50-foot yacht in Sausalito. It's tied up about 15 minutes from the Golden Gate Bridge. And the finger where the boat's tied up is almost, the ladder that goes up and down to the boat is almost vertical at a low tide. And so I used to grab this big 95-pound brute of a dog and bear hug him. I'd put his paws on my shoulders and I'd bear hug him, and then I would walk up and down this ladder to get him to and from the boat. So a couple of years of that made me think a little dog might be all right. And you see this, Wally was a little tough to have in my lap, and she's just a little sweetheart who cuddles up on my lap and doesn't take a lot of room, and sleeps in our bed actually, which is mostly a good thing.
When I was growing up, I was raised with German Shepherds, and I just think I have an affection for big dogs. They're loyal. They never, it's that unconditional love. So it just seemed like a great fit.
I was brought up with a big dog also, and it just seemed very natural that when you have two big dog people that are married, they're going to have big dogs.
And for me, the bigger the better.
I chose big dogs over small dogs because they're just better. They're cool. The big dogs, I just feel, give you a lot of love. They aren't as afraid normally as like little dogs are. They're shaky and they're little and they nip and they bite. They're just very relaxed with themselves, and I've always loved very big dogs. These are actually smallest dogs I've ever owned. Usually they're at least 120 plus pounds. I just love that you can cuddle with them, you can play with them, you can wrestle with them. There's a lot of things that you can do with them.
And they're good guardians.
Very good guardians. Your house is pretty safe. When I relocated from Southern California up here and brought my dogs, my house actually got robbed when I was gone. And I had lived there 20-something years and never had to lock a door or a window. So yeah, they keep people away.
You think of a retriever as a dog that retrieves. She doesn't retrieve. You just throw the ball and it stays there. You then think of retrievers as dogs that like to swim. Everybody will go in the swimming pool, cannot get her in the swimming pool.
Yeah, she does get exercise though. She runs around the pool barking at us, which is pretty hysterical.
He, on the other hand, retrieves. And he will retrieve animals and then come into the house with his mouth closed. And you have to look and kind of pry it open and say, what do you have in there? And we have found any number of animals that he was able to retrieve into the house. And then he'll put it down on the ground, and it's like, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at what I was able to catch.
Look, I brought it back. Aren't you proud?
Moles, birds, other animals.
Well, I've never had big dogs, but it seems like a lot of work and a lot of space. We have a small house. When I met my husband, there were 3 of these little schnauzers jumping around in his house, and I was completely overwhelmed and confused because I grew up with cats. But then I became their stepdaddy and I fell in love. And then they all got old and died over a period of many years. And we were gonna get a mutt because we thought it might be healthier, but we met Louie and we thought he was a mutt, and then it turns out he was a miniature schnauzer. So it's our fate to have miniature schnauzers.
I would tell people, Well, obviously, if you like to be outdoors and like to run and hike, get a dog that likes to do that stuff, because you're not going to get like a tiny dog to like go on a 5-mile hike with you. Maybe you could, I don't know, but that's not my impression. I think if you're going to get a big dog, be careful about getting it in an apartment. We have an apartment, and with him, it's just a lot of people in one area. We definitely don't want to get another big dog until we have a house. I would tell people, yeah, I mean, go meet the dogs and see what their personality is like. You know, sit with them. Do they, if you like to be chill and watch TV, do they sit next to you quietly, or do they want attention? You know, I would say definitely go meet them and see what they're like.
If someone were trying to find a dog, I would probably ask a few questions about lifestyle, because I think there is so much variety out there. If someone is a high energy person and they're hiking and they're out all the time, there are tons of breeds, obviously, that enjoy and require a lot of exercise. And there are other breeds that are a little more sedentary, maybe are just comfortable being couch potatoes. So I think that's one thing. I think another thing, it's really critical that dog owners appreciate how much time they have to spend with a dog. You know, is the dog going to be set up in the house for 12 hours a day? That's tough. And as far as the training, find a professional. And I think dog training is not so much training the dogs, it's training the human to work with the dog and be consistent with the dog.
My name's Chris Durant. I'm the founder of Fearless Pet in Martinez, California. My dog is the reason for this whole company. He's a Manchester Terrier mix. He's 15 and a half, and he was really naughty and reactive and a little bit aggressive, actually. People would come in my house, he would charge them, he would nip them, and I taught him to actually enjoy people coming in. Actually threw him a birthday party with little dog friends, and at one point he wouldn't even be near another dog, but now he's a totally different animal. It's fabulous.
I'm Dan Dagg, a Bay Area dog trainer and behaviorist, and I've been doing this professionally full-time for over 20 years. And what I do is I go to people's homes and educate them about what's going on inside a dog's head, so they're conscious of what's going on and they know how to deal with it. So I always like to tell people that, you know, when they have a dog, they basically have a homeschooled child. They aren't just the parent, they're also the teacher, right? So the parent would be more responsible as far as, you know, teaching the child manners and etiquette. All the studies will say a dog's mind is like a 3-year-old child. Then you got the wolf that they came from in there too. So where I always start is dog psychology, which is just like child psychology in a primal fashion.
He definitely is my son. I call him my son all the time. And Batman, stop eating the cat food, please. You know, it's like a kid in the sense that you constantly have to watch them. You have to take them out to poop. Like with cats, they kind of do their own thing. It's kind of like you're being born with a teenager, kind of. Whereas with a puppy or a dog, it's like you have to take them out, make sure they poop. They whine when you walk away for 4 minutes. It's definitely a less traumatizing version of a child.
Well, certainly training, the younger the better, I think is really important. But also treating them good, showing them love and affection, making sure they get out and run. If you can't train a dog to walk off a leash on your own, make sure that you find places like dog parks where they could run and get it out of their system. I think that's real important for dogs that are on a leash all the time. I believe is somewhat frustrating. And a lot of times when we're walking with them and you see a dog that's never been off a leash, they're always hostile. Not always, but.
I think training is absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. There's a responsibility that comes with having any animal, but especially a large animal. One of the reasons why we opted for the Golden when we first moved out here was because of their reputation for being a great dog with kids. And if you've got a large dog and you can't control the dog, or you don't know about the dog's personality or how they'll react, I think you're taking a huge, huge risk.
As far as what studies show, okay, if we go back thousands of years, where we're living in villages, making fire, hunting for food, water, shelter. The wolves started coming in and looking for handouts. We had the idea that if we work with them, they could help us survive, we can help them survive. It was an alliance. It's a very cool thing that we have with us and dogs. Then we noticed that those wolves didn't listen so well once they got what they wanted. So then what happened next is we started stealing puppies from the parents. So we could raise them, they'd listen to us better, they'd feel more like one of us. Now fast forward that, thousands of years through selective breeding, we have Rottweilers and Chihuahuas and English Mastiffs, but for the most part, dogs are still thinking like the wolves that they came from. The problem out there, typically what I see with small dogs, is the way they get treated. They get treated like cats, but they're still a dog. There's nothing different. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-pound Chihuahua or a 200-pound English Mastiff. They need to be treated the same. They'll get the wrong idea if they get away with, a lot more just because they're small and cute. So we really mess up these little dogs. People will say something like, I can't stand these little Yorkies or Chihuahuas. They're always so mean. Well, it's not their fault. It's the way they get treated. It's the type of owner. And we have a little intelligent dog, and if you spoil a smart dog, you're gonna have problems. So same rules that you would give a large dog, which is, control your personal space. Don't let them jump on you because it's rude and you're just trying to teach them manners. So treat a small dog just like a big dog and you'll be fine.
We learned that we needed to be crisper in our instructions, more direct, less chatty, less talky. If we wanted something, say it directly, and then repeat it.
Yeah.
And you only give a treat when they're 100%. You don't give a treat when it's 90% or 85%.
Yeah. And whatever command you choose to use, the command has to be the same command all the time.
So we've applied that to the kids as well.
It doesn't work so well with them, though.
Petal is my third truck dog. I've had 4 dogs since I got into construction. My wife, who's more of a cat person, she said, let's take some time before we get another dog. And I'm like, okay. And it was kind of bugging me because I missed having a dog. I've always loved having a dog. And she went online and she saw Petal and we got her as a pup. And the nice thing about rescuing a pup is she doesn't appear to have a lot of baggage. She's been well taken care of and felt safe and comfortable. Frankly, I've never had a dog that was a yapper because when both Cocker Spaniel, Labrador, Boxer, and now little Terrier mix, who can be notoriously yappy, from the time she was a pup, when she starts to grumble or barks, we say, no, honey, it's fine. It's okay, we got it. No barking, no barking. And my attitude is I'm 6'2", and I'm protecting the house. And it's nice to have a dog who will make a little noise if there's something strange going on, but I don't need the incessant yapping dog, which, it's not my business how other people have their dogs, but it's annoying when there's a yappy dog around. So I just find it really important that she feels safe and part of the family. And she just, she doesn't have a lot to say, but when she does say something, it matters.
There's so many things I could say about why I love being a dog owner. My favorite thing, actually, it's having both of them now, right? It's having this little baby, my fur baby, and they're essentially growing up together. And there has been some really special moments. When Vera was first born, when she would cry, he would bring her toys, and it was like so sweet. I know we were talking about kind of how dogs communicate, and that to me was clear. When I'm sad, I want a toy. My sister's sad, I should bring her a toy. And now they play together, and it's amazing. He'll pick up a stuffed toy, flip it upside down. She'll start laughing. She'll take the toy from him. When she has mealtime, she'll do a Cheerio for her, a Cheerio for Ace. And watching them have this special relationship has just been, watching them have this special relationship has been amazing to watch. It's incredible. They really do love each other.
Honestly, the biggest role I think this dog plays is he gives everyone in our family joy. Absolutely everyone in our family loves this dog. And I thought that it would wear off with my kids, after we had him for a little while. Like, we just crack up over this dog, you know? Like my oldest and I are always telling each other, come see what Finley's doing. Oh my gosh, look at Finley, you know? It has not worn off. So I think, you know, he's been a great addition to our family. And, you know, I gotta say, he was very comforting to me after I lost my mom. I got him about a year after, and like I said, I'm not a huge fan of dogs, but I saw a friend of mine that runs a rescue had posted him, and I just fell in love. And he, you know, there were nights that I couldn't sleep. I had lost my mom kind of traumatically, and he would always be right there with me, sitting right next to me. And there are times when, you know, I have to hold it together because I have 3 kids. So at nighttime is when I'd kind of fall apart, and he would sit right with me and lick my tears if I was crying. And it would always absolutely crack me up. And so he's a rescue, but I truly do believe the saying now that I'm not really sure who rescued who.
We were a little bit nervous when we brought Barkley home. We didn't know whether they would gel, and the really wonderful thing about the rescue organization that we adopted from is they said, no matter what, if it doesn't work with your existing dog, definitely we'll take Barkley back, 100% guarantee. So we were a little bit nervous because she's incredibly spoiled. But when we brought him home, she kind of sniffed, looked around and went, I don't need this. I don't need this guy. And she went to the corner of the sofa, and he went to the opposite corner of the room and sat. And then as a week went by, he got a little closer. Another week went by, he got a little closer, until ultimately they were both on the sofa with their butts touching. And they had, within a month, they had absolutely gelled. But he deferred to her. She was definitely the alpha, and he would always look to her for reassurance.
Gosh, I've always loved animals in general, but I just love dogs, like that quote, being man's best friend. They're so sensitive to your feelings. She has a certain little bark, like if I'm working too hard on something, like, take a break, come here, play, let's go do something. She's just great for that.
My name is Debbie Smith. We are in Pleasant Hill, California. This is my doggy Killer. He's been with us for 12 years and he is a Tweenie. I love being a dog owner because they love you unconditionally. They are so happy when you come home. They just, like for Killer, he just follows me everywhere. He came into our lives when we were very, very sad, and he's just been with us and knows when we need his love and his affection, and he's just, there's nothing better than a dog. Nothing better than a dog.
One of the best experiences I've had with puppy raising was my first puppy who graduated 1 year ago, who is now working in a children's hospital, and she is changing lives every single day. She and her partner work in a setting where it's all children who are very ill, but who are really moved by the dogs. I've actually been contacted by parents who have told me what a difference the dog has made in the lives of their child. So, I mean, that is the best feeling in the world. And I get to follow her on Facebook and other social media, and I'm having a great time with that. She actually works with a fleet of 5 dogs at this children's hospital.
Yes, I think my dog does understand some things we say. I think he's learning full sentences, actually. Like when we're hiking and there's 2 trails, I'll say, he'll go on one trail because he'll be ahead of me, and I'll say, no, over here, and he'll come over to the trail. So I think he does, like, either understand, like, the gist of what I'm gonna say, or he does actually understand, like, the English phrase. When he was a puppy, I would be like, do you want some water? And he would go get water. I say, do you need to pee? And he'll pee. Like, so I like to think he understands. I'm trying to think non-verbally if he, like, understands us. I mean, when my fiance proposed to me, Ranger was just sniffing around and didn't understand what was going on. And so I just wonder if he like doesn't pick up on situations. Like Mike's over here like kneeling and I'm like crying and he's just like over here sniffing. He could care less. But yeah, like verbally, he's getting some communication down. Off.
Cookie does have social media. He has an Instagram account. He has about 4,000 followers, and he actually made friends through Instagram. They comment back and forth. They talk to each other about what they do, where they go. It was recently his birthday, his 3rd birthday. So he had a little birthday party, and he got lots of comments of his friends telling him happy birthday.
I feel a little bit bad. Trixie, his sister, has social media. She has an Instagram account, and it is very exciting, and he shows up on it just a couple times. Trixie is a little bit more glamorous. We got her to be a friend for him, and it seemed like it was going to work out. When we introduced them, she sort of rolled over and showed him her stomach, and we thought, okay, great. And she's the cutest little 8-pounder. But when we got her home and got her comfortable, we realized that she was just, I don't know, faking it because she was nervous, but really she doesn't want to be his friend. But she's very glamorous. She's also very funny because she's super smart, and she's like extremely cute, but then if you rub her the wrong way or push her the wrong way, she will kill you. She doesn't care for me all that much, honestly. I have some bites from her this morning because I made her go out pee-pee. But yeah, so Louis does not have a lot of social media, but he is a guest star on Trixie Bixie's. You can find her at Trixie Biscuit on Instagram.
My dogs each have individual personalities, just like your own children do. And they're born with their own temperament. When you inherit them, they have their temperament, plus they have their experiences. So for instance, Cosmo, he was 6 months old when we got him, and he had a lot of issues from being a city dog, and his owner had never had a dog before, and she picked him up and carried him all the time, so he didn't know how to deal with a lot of things in life. And Roxy is a very bold dog. Nikki is just sweet and mellow. So just like children, the way you train them and deal with them has to be about their psychology and the psychology of the breed.
We get them all kinds of chew toys, but they ignore them. I know, sweetheart. And go after the furniture. When we first brought Barkley home, his mouth was just at about the right spot for our dining room table. We have a bench, and he would just stand there and just like, yeah, don't mind me, I'm just gonna chew on the edge of this, and he's absolutely taken the corners off of both sides of the bench.
And then Barkley is not limited to dining room furniture or cushions on the couch. I have picked up a new talent of puttying and painting walls in various rooms of the house, because when we go out, we used to put them in a room and close the door for a bit. Briar was always fine with that. Barkley was not. And I guess we were kind of slow learners, but it took 5 or 6 nice-sized holes in different room walls before we learned this probably was not the best idea. But and when we're saying these are holes in walls, we're talking basketball size holes in walls, not golf balls, all because this guy just didn't like being in the room, closed in, even when he was with Briar.
Well, the memory I have with my previous dog, Frosty, is we got a free dog from ARF. And the second day we had him, he did about $1,500 worth of damage to our house. So that was the story of our free dog.
You get a puppy, they're born with a silver spoon in their mouth, okay? You know, you get a rescue dog, they've won the lotto big time, all right? Because they're simply giving them food, shelter, and water. But for the most part, dogs are still thinking like the wolves that they came from. That's the beginning of boredom right there. They don't feel like they have a purpose. The first thing I see a dog do, if they feel like they don't have a purpose and they're bored, is to protect the owner and the environment. Because they want a purpose, and the first thing they usually give themselves as a job is to be the protector and whatnot, and that can escalate. We have to make sure that they know where their position is and that we're delegating. The tips that I would give anybody would be exercise your dog outside the home twice a day, minimum. Plenty of dog park, plenty of one-on-one walking, running, whatever you're gonna do. But they also need mental stimulation. So let's take care of the body and mind. You burn a lot of mental energy through the nose if you're a dog. So I'll have them play a little game of search. Start with, throwing a treat in front of the dog and then saying search, and then start putting it further and further away. Before you know it, you have a little game like an Easter egg hunt, where you're hiding treats all over the place. By them searching for those treats, it's very satisfying. Kong balls and things where they have to figure out how to get the food out of the center of it, great. You'll see that they do that in zoos to keep the animals stimulated, doing what they need to do, which is hunt for their own food.
I'm Chris Terozzi with the White Kitty Foundation in Danville. We are a nonprofit animal organization. We were an animal rescue organization that placed dogs and cats in homes, and we now are just a sanctuary for older animals and animals with health conditions. This is what happened a couple years ago. Someone surrendered a puppy to us at the pet store, and I posted it and said, okay, I need a home for this puppy because I don't want a pit bull puppy. And this man called, his name's Pablo, and he said, I want to come and meet the puppy. So he came, I talked to him for a few minutes, and I assessed his personality first. And I said to him, you don't want this puppy. He said, why not? I said, no, it's not a good fit for you. I said, but I have the dog for you. So I went upstairs and I got a dog, his name is Dexter. And they met, and it was instant love. And they are still together today. And he said, he calls me every week and says, I love this dog more than I could ever love any woman, I think. And that to me is like so rewarding and heartwarming. And they come to visit us, and we just love it. We love that connection was made between the two of them.
Okay, so I think one of my favorite ACE moments, I have a lot of favorite ACE moments, but when I was pregnant, when I first started to show, I had this awkward phase where for a while it just looked like I just went to Chipotle, and I didn't quite look pregnant yet, but when I started to show, it's about December, when I was about 4.5, 5 months pregnant, and that's when his behavior started to change. He started to notice there was something significantly different, and I was sitting on our couch. I was sitting right in the corner seat where I usually sit, and he would come up and snuggle with me, and he jumped on the couch and he inched closer. He put his paw on my belly. He looked up at me. He leaned in, he licked my belly, and then he looked up at me again. And it was just this moment where he was like, I know it's happening. Like, you're adding to the pack. We're gonna get another human puppy, and it was really sweet.
He just knows, if you're going through a really hard time, it's the time of year and it just hits you. And without words, he knows that, I need to be with you, and he'll just lay right next to your leg, or he'll just climb up on your lap and just be right on your lap. And he's really sensitive about that, and he's really special about knowing how much we need him and how important he is to us.
In 2010, I was going through a really brutal divorce. And I moved out of the home where my first wife and my children lived onto a boat. And I was really focused on just kind of getting my life back together and getting centered and getting really okay with being a single guy, still supporting a family. And I had the one thing I got that was really precious to me was Wally, who was a 95-pound lab. And part of my routine of kind of getting right with the world is I would walk out to a place on the edge of the San Francisco Bay called Prayer Point. And there was this particular spot that had great energy. Marin County is a place that's just notorious for its incredible healing energy. And this place in particular was so powerful. So powerful, in fact, that my second wife and I got married in that spot a few years later. And I would go there and I would ground and I would pray and I'd meditate, and Wally would be with me. And many times I felt very vulnerable standing in public facing the water, the San Francisco Bay, and just feeling the energy and feeling connected. And it was such a huge thing for me. But I felt vulnerable because I had nobody watching my back. And then I would feel something and I would look down and Wally would have his nose right in the back of my knee. And he was my wingman. And he was huge for that healing part of my journey.
So, not that long ago, my Dalmatian Truly, my Chihuahua Nacho, and we had at the time a French Bulldog by the name of Bubby. He was an adopted French Bulldog. We got him when he was around 12. He had had a history of a few bouts of cancer. He had had a stroke, and we adopted him when he had cancer on his leg. So he came to us with stage 4 cancer. And we took him in, we got him treatment, and he was with us for 2 years. During that 2 years, Truly and Bubby and Nacho were the three musketeers. They were the absolute best of friends. And Bubby really brought a lot of laughter and joy to our house. French Bulldogs are hysterical dogs. If you don't know, you should find one and spend some time with them because they are funny dogs. So along the lines of emotion for us, when it was time, Bubby had been diagnosed with a tumor in his liver, and we needed to make the decision, and I'm gonna get emotional, to say goodbye to him. And we had a nurse come to our house to do that. Truly took one look at that nurse and ran outside to the deck and threw up. So I think Truly knew exactly what was about to happen. And then we all convened in the den and said our goodbyes to Bubby. And it was as sad as it was, and it brings back memories of missing him. But it was also a really beautiful moment because the family was together. We all knew what was going on. And we spent a considerable amount of precious time, about 45 minutes afterwards, just being with Bubby. And the whole family was together doing it, which I think is an important passage. I think when a dog in the family does pass, it's really vital to have other family members there in that passing time so they understand what happened to their best friend.
Hi, I'm Tom Bell, and I want you to introduce you to my two dogs. Louie, come here, son. This is Louie the puppy, and his big brother, Milo, and today's Milo's birthday. He's 5 years old today. He was a rescue dog from an organization from Texas. They flew him into the airport. I was supposed to pick him up at like 12:30, and it was supposed to be at Terminal 4 in San Francisco Airport. And I had in my mind that there was no Terminal 4, but I just went anyway, and sure as shooting, there's only 3 terminals. So now it's a half hour before pickup time, and I'm kind of panicking, and I kept calling the organization. Nobody's answering me. No one at the airport could answer a question like, of course, they don't know how to answer where is Terminal 4, so I don't know where I'm going, so I'm asking, where do you find the dogs? And most people just look at me and just go, I don't know. So, needless to say, long time passes due time. We finally figured it all out. It was off the airport site. I get there. The flight was delayed by a couple of hours. Everything's cool. I take a couple hours and kill it, come back. Nobody remembers me. I was just there 2 hours ago, and asking, anybody see my dog? Anybody my dog? And this gentleman at the other counter says, dog died. I went, what? And I'm ready to just cry, and my friend's going, what are you saying? And he spoke very little English. Dog dead. I'm like, what is, and nobody would help me. I was going crazy. Well, it turns out the dog was still in the air, Louie. When he finally did arrive 3 hours later, so it was a long day, he was in a warehouse, and they just sent me over into this huge big building, and I had to go try to find him. And all I could hear was this little puppy barking somewhere in this giant, like 4-story warehouse. And nobody would speak to me, and there was just forklifts going by, so I went walking around through all these crates, and I found the little puppy that I seen online. I went, that's you! And I dragged him to the door and took him home. I went, great security, but he made it safe and sound.
My favorite part of being actually a lab owner, because I've seen so many different kinds of dogs, is the companionship. they're so playful. So they are very playful, and they just make me feel like there's always someone there when there is no one there. He's there, and he follows me around, where female dogs and even cats are just more independent. So I guess it depends on what you want. And I knew I wanted a dog that clings to me.
That's exactly the way it is.
Yeah, he's clinger, huh?
I am a crazy dog lady. I am that person who took her dog everywhere, and her dog has some clothes. Her dog has scrambled eggs for breakfast at least 3 days a week. I do as much as I can. I do as much as I can with my dog. And so when people found out that I was pregnant, you know, I got a lot of warnings. Oh, what are you going to do with the dog? What's going to happen now? And a lot of people told us things like, oh, just you wait. As soon as you have a baby, your dog's going to get the back burner and blah, blah, blah. And I just ignored all that. And I, you know, have always had the stance of Ace is a part of our family. Yes, Vera is my baby. Obviously, I'm not going to let anyone come ahead of her. But he's just an additional wonderful part of our lives. He doesn't stand in the way. There's no conflict of having a dog and a baby. It's magical to have both, and it's fun to watch them hang out together. And so I would say if your dog has, you know, if your dog has a habit that, you know, could be dangerous to a baby, just work on it beforehand. Go see a trainer.
I think that people should know that getting a pet is probably a lot harder than they think it is. Oftentimes you hear stories of people getting pets and they're not able to keep them because they have to switch apartments or they have to do this and that. I had one move already since Batman, and he's also come with me every single place I've gone, every little road trip I've taken. I'm never gonna leave that dog. I don't care if I hit rock bottom. Like, he is basically my heart and my soul, and he's what keeps me going. So if you get a pet, don't get a pet just because you're comfortable now. Get a pet because you want to be with it for your life, no matter what.
Cookie is definitely like my kid. I take care of him like my kid. He's like a little baby that you have to change their diapers, except that he doesn't have a diaper. So I have to change his little pee pads. I have to feed him, take care of him. I can't leave him in the house for too long. I just constantly need to be there. If I'm traveling, I need to make sure that somebody's taking care of him, or if I could take him with me.
I just want to make sure that all the dog owners out there understand that they're always going to have a 3-year-old child with the primal part of the wolf in that dog too. It seems to be a big problem out there. People not understanding that, you know, when you have a dog, you have a responsibility. A dog needs consistency and repetition. I'm a stickler about getting my dogs out a couple times a day.
Again, it comes down to what Phil said. You have to find the dog that fits within your family. Do you have time for that dog? Are you know, is it a dog that needs a lot of exercise? What kind of dog is it? And it could be the most rewarding, and it is the most painful experience when you lose them. It's like losing a family member, and maybe even sometimes a little worse than losing your family member, because you know you'll give your right arm for your dog. They're just the best.
Your dog will become a part of your family, and you will love him or her with every little single cell in your body. And again, just to have the time to give to them, because they deserve it. They give so much more than like I could ever give him. He gives me, and all my dogs do that I walk, they give me, just touching them makes you feel better, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you give an input, you know, you'll get a great output with these dogs. Especially with Leaf, is as long as you love him, then he'll love you back.
Well, he'll
love you anyways,
yeah,
but you know, he can get depressed if you don't.
Well, he turns into his Eeyore, where he will go in the other room if you're not paying attention, or he's hungry, which is all the time.
In terms of a tip I would give to other dog owners or potential dog owners is to let them be a part of your life and your family as much as possible. You know, I feel like it's tempting to, you know, dogs aren't allowed a lot of places, so it's tempting to just live the life that you lived with your dog when it's available, right? Going to work, leaving them at home, going out with friends, leaving them at home. And we really have embraced kind of trying to involve him in our life as much as possible.
Okay, you know, there was a very, very special dog I had. It was my very first dog. His name was Roscoe. I was a traveling photographer. I traveled north, south, east, west, everywhere. Never put this dog on a leash. Everywhere I went, and whether it even be, sometimes I would shoot like in American Legion halls, or sometimes it was in hotels. Well, I would put him in a pillowcase and sneak him in all the time, and he'd always go to all my shoots, and he would just entertain everybody. All the customers would sit there and throw the ball for him, and he would make everybody happy. Well, one given day, I was shooting, and big crowd, and they're all lined up. And my partner buddy was playing with my dog, and he took him out. And the dog was chasing the frisbee, jumped in the California aqueduct, got swept away down a drain pipe, and was gone. My friend, God love him, jumped in, not knowing where he was going to end up, flushed all the way through. You know, it's like one of those glory holes like you have in Lake Berryessa, straight on down, come out who knows where. He carried him in his arms all the way back. I'm still shooting pictures, and he walks in carrying my wet dog and him soaking wet. Your dog won't believe it, man. He just jumped up into this creek, and it turned out it was an aqueduct and swept away. And but I went after him, and he's here. And I went, okay. I go, take care of things. I still got customers here, but I'm like, yikes. Okay, so good old Roscoe had 9 lives. He jumped off cliffs and survived. The most loyal dog. Can't imagine any other buddy having a dog as human as that dog was. So that was my Roscoe story.
Do your research and don't deny yourself the joy of having a dog in your family. Just make sure that everybody in the family wants the dog. A dog has to really be welcomed by everybody, and everybody willing to do the work and be on the same page. And find your breed and find what's right for you, and it's gonna just enrich your life in ways you just can't even imagine.
Probably the best thing that's ever happened for us. I feel like we've had our lives, my fiance and I, our lives have been really up and down, you know, growing up, and he was in the military, and we lasted through that and all these things that we've done together. And I was in grad school, and he's about to go to grad school, and having a dog has really been like the one thing that's been consistent in our lives and like stays consistent with us. And that has been awesome, because like we know we're gonna get up and Ranger's gonna be there, and we're gonna go for a walk, and we're gonna do all these things. And like even on hard days, it's like he's still there, and he's still licking us and, you know, loving on us. And that's been the best part about having a dog.
I highly recommend that everybody has a pet, whether it's a cat, whether it's a dog, whether it's whatever you want it to be, because it's really important for somebody to be able to experience that connection.
Whoever you are, if you have dogs, you're the luckiest person in the world. And if you don't, reconsider. There's no greater creature, as we can see Louie right now just playing, that just will absolutely love you unconditionally, even better than your kids will.
I'm just happy to be with Petal. She's a great little truck dog. She's really her mama's dog. I mean, if she had to, we're never getting divorced, because I would, for a lot of reasons. We got a great marriage, but I'd hate to have to give her up. No, I got to keep you, girl. Yeah, it's really awesome to have this pure little soul in the middle of our lives. The favorite place I've traveled to over 40 countries. I've traveled all over the world, had a couple of businesses, got 4 kids. But really my happy place is sitting on the couch in the evening watching some episodic series with my wife on one side of the couch, me on the other, and Petal in between us. It's my happy place.
If you're thinking of getting a purebred dog for $6,000, $7,000 or a rescue, go with the rescue. Not only will you save the money, but you'll save a life.
And gain a friend.
And gain a friend.
And it started when I was a young kid. I used to rescue squirrels. When I was a little kid, sneak them into the house and just rehabilitate them and then just return them back outside. I really liked catching the wildlife and helping them. We get a lot of them that have been severely abused, and then they seem to forgive very easily. They forgive and forget. I'm surprised that they do. It's just nature of a dog, I believe. They can be treated so badly, but at the same time just be such loving animals and forgive what they've been through.
My name's Jenny.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and this is Gunther. We adopted him about a year ago, last April, from the Martinez shelter.
Being able to share the story about rescuing Gunther is one of my favorite parts about being a rescue dog owner, and how sweet he is and lovable he is, and especially with his breed. And when people find out we rescued him at 2 to 3 years old, and a lot of people have some negative ideas, which I understand, and he changes that immediately when people meet him, and it's wonderful. I mean, honestly, how could you not want one of these?
Yeah, he's a big teddy bear.
A lot of times when we go out and we rescue these dogs, a lot of people that do it, they have the heart to help the animal. And then when we get the animal, we hear stories like, I didn't realize I needed that dog so much. And then it turns out that the dog actually rescued them. They get the dog and they think, oh, it's just a dog. But then they find out, a month or two later that they couldn't live without the animal, that the animal basically has taken over and become everything to them.
I definitely feel like Gunther has rescued me more than I've rescued him. He's always there. He's always happy when I come home, even if it's just to take the trash out, and then I come back. When I come back, he goes and grabs a toy, and he's like, hey, I'm here. I can make your day better. Let's go for a walk. Let's go, come play with one of my toys.
The connection between the rescuer and the rescue animal I couldn't say enough about it, and I don't ever want to not have that, and the emotional support that I truly feel having that companionship is amazing.
For anybody that's interested in rescue in general, in the shelter system, and adopting, I implore you, whether it be fostering, adopting, transporting, paying for vet bills, there is always a need for something from anybody. Contact your local shelter.